Most travelers come to Chile for Patagonia, but beyond the famous peaks and glaciers, there are deserts where rain almost never falls, fjords carved by ancient ice, cities framed by massive mountains, and landscapes so extreme they feel almost unreal. And most visitors never see all of it. Chile isn't just one landscape, it's an entire world stretched across a continent. A ribbon of land squeezed between the Pacific Ocean and the Andes Mountains, spanning climates that shouldn't exist side by side. Where you can stand in a bone-dry desert in the morning and watch glaciers calve into fjords by evening. What people think Chile is. When people picture Chile, they think of Patagonia. Towering mountains, blue glaciers, and wild landscapes at the edge of the continent. And that version of Chile certainly exists. It's the Chile of postcards and adventure magazines. The Chile where hikers disappear into granite amphitheaters and winds test every seam of your jacket. But Chile stretches more than 4,000 kilometers from north to south. That's roughly the distance from Norway to North Africa. From the driest desert on Earth to icy fjords near Antarctica. Few countries contain such dramatic contrasts. Most nations offer variations on a theme. Chile offers entirely different chapters. And yet, most travelers only raid one. They fly into Santiago, head straight south to Torres del Paine, then leave believing they've seen Chile. But they've barely scratched the surface of what this narrow country holds. Patagonia and Torres del Paine, the anchor. In southern Chile lies one of the most dramatic landscapes in the world, Torres del Paine National Park. Granite towers rise above turquoise lakes. These peaks aren't gentle slopes. They are vertical walls of stone that pierce the sky like broken teeth. Glaciers spill down from the southern Patagonian icefield. It's a place where nature feels powerful and unpredictable. Weather changes in minutes here. Sunshine becomes snow becomes sun again before you've finished your lunch. Condors circle overhead, riding thermals with wings spread wide enough to cast shadows. Guanacos, the wild relatives of llamas, graze in herds across the grasslands, always alert, always watching. This is the Chile that everyone knows, the one that fills Instagram feeds and travel documentaries, and it deserves every bit of that attention. But it's only the beginning. The Atacama Desert. In northern Chile, the environment changes completely. The Atacama Desert is one of the driest places on Earth. Some areas receive almost no rainfall. Not just rarely, some weather stations have never recorded a single drop. Scientists use this desert to test Mars rovers because the conditions come closer to another planet than anywhere else on Earth. Salt flats stretch across wide valleys. You can see the Milky Way with such clarity it looks like someone spilled paint across the darkness. It feels more like another planet than a desert. Lagoons dotted with flamingos appear like mirages, brilliant pink birds feeding in waters so alkaline nothing else survives. Geysers erupt at dawn, sending columns of steam hundreds of feet into the frozen morning air. And valleys sculpted by wind erosion create formations that seem carved by an artist rather than nature. This is a Chile most visitors never imagine exists. Santiago and the Andes. In central Chile, Santiago sits beneath the Andes Mountains. Modern buildings fill the valley. Glass towers reflect the afternoon sun, while metro lines ferry millions of commuters through a sprawling urban landscape. Wine regions and fertile valleys surround the capital. These aren't decorative vineyards. They are working landscapes producing world-class wines that compete with anything from France or California. Santiago offers a completely different side of Chile. Urban, energetic, and framed by mountains. Markets overflow with produce from the surrounding farms, avocados, grapes, stone fruits piled in colorful abundance. Museums preserve indigenous heritage and colonial history side by side. Neighborhoods range from historic districts with cobblestone streets to modern developments that could exist in any global city. It's a Chile that balances tradition with ambition, where the past and future share the same streets. Most visitors leave Chile thinking they've seen it, but the deeper you explore, the more it changes. If you enjoy discovering destinations beyond the obvious, this channel is built for that. We don't just cover the famous spots, we go where the story gets more interesting, where the crowds thin out and the landscape starts to reveal what makes a place truly different. Chile's southern fjords. In southern Chile, the coastline breaks into thousands of islands. This isn't a clean edge between land and sea. It's a shattered margin where the two collide and intermingle. Glaciers carved fjords deep into the mountains. These aren't gentle river valleys that happen to flood. They were profound gouges cut by ice miles thick, creating waterways that plunge hundreds of feet deep. Small communities live along narrow coastal inlets. Waterfalls drop from cliffs into salt water, their mist-catching rainbows in the afternoon light. Dolphins and sea lions navigate the same passages as fishing boats and ferries, but remains far less visited. This is wilderness that hasn't been polished for tourism. It exists on its own terms, indifferent to whether anyone's watching. Small towns and rural life. Across Chile, small towns reveal another side of the country. Coastal villages depend on fishing. Harbors fill with wooden boats painted in bright colors, blues, reds, yellows weathered by salt and sun. Men mend nets on docks, while seabirds wait for scraps, and the smell of fresh catch mixes with diesel and ocean air. Inland valleys support farming and vineyards. Communities remain closely connected to the landscape around them. Their calendars follow harvests and fishing seasons rather than arbitrary months. Weather isn't just conversation, it determines livelihoods. These towns don't exist for tourists, which is precisely what makes them worth visiting. They offer glimpses of how people actually live when their economy doesn't depend on vacation rentals and guided tours. Chilean food and wine. Chile's cuisine reflects both the ocean and the land. Seafood appears frequently along the long coastline. Congrio, a firm white fish, gets prepared dozens of ways: grilled, stewed, baked in clay pots with tomatoes and herbs. Sea urchins are served raw, their bright orange flesh scooped straight from spiny shells. Fresh fish market. Vendors arrange their catches on ice: hake, mackerel, clams, mussels, octopus, calling out prices and filleting fish with practiced efficiency. Fresh produce grows in the fertile central valleys. Meals often highlight simple ingredients, prepared with care. A cazuela, a hearty stew of chicken, corn, pumpkin, and potatoes, can be transcended when the ingredients are this good and the recipe has been refined over decades. Chilean food doesn't shout for attention, but it rewards those who pay attention. Why travelers explore more of Chile. Chile continues to attract travelers looking for dramatic landscapes, but many visitors now explore beyond the most famous parks. They're realizing that the long flights and visa arrangements that get them to South America deserve more than a single destination itinerary. Long distances reveal entirely new environments. A 2-hour flight can transport you from desert to rainforest, from coast to mountains, from summer to winter. Deserts, mountains, fjords, and vineyards all exist within one country. Travelers who've been to Patagonia return for the Atacama. Those who've explored the desert come back for the Lake District. Chile rewards return visits because it's impossible to see everything in one trip. And each region feels distinct enough that it might as well be a different country entirely. Who this side of Chile is for. This side of Chile is for travelers who love contrast, for people curious about extreme landscapes, who want to understand how life adapts to impossibly dry deserts and how ecosystems function where glaciers meet oceans, for those willing to travel far to see places that feel untouched. Chile rewards that curiosity. It doesn't make things easy. Distances are vast, infrastructure varies, and getting off the beaten path requires genuine effort. But that effort is precisely what keeps these places authentic. This is for travelers who'd rather spend a day getting somewhere remarkable than an hour getting somewhere comfortable, who value the journey as much as the destination, who understand that the best experiences often come from places that don't cater to mass tourism. Chile isn't just Patagonia. It's deserts, glaciers, fjords, and cities surrounded by mountains. And once you move beyond the obvious stops, you realize how much more there is. How many landscapes still wait to be discovered? How many versions of Chile exist beyond the one everyone photographs? This narrow country contains multitudes, and the deeper you go, the more it reveals. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the tourist version. What part of Chile would you explore first? The deserts that mirror Mars, the fjords that rival Norway, or the valleys that produce world-class wine? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one.